It's tempting to compare Gabi to Eren because there is an abundance of surface reasons why they relate, even down to their appearance in some shots. So before I even get into why they're different, I do want to acknowledge the similarities. First, both of them were lied to by their respective governments. Eren and the people of Paradis were lied to in order to, quote-unquote, protect them until they would be eventually offered up as penance for an old king's sins. Whereas Gabi and company were lied to keep them as slaves, conditioned to kill and subjugate their own kind. Second, and probably the element that most tricks people into thinking that they are the same, is that neither Gabi nor Eren have the normal human fight or flight response to danger. With these two, it's just fight. It doesn't even occur to Gabi to run back home and check and make sure her family had evacuated Liberio safely in the Warhammer Titan episode. She grabs a gun and runs towards danger as fast as her little legs could carry her. And Eren was even younger than Gabi when he saved Mikasa from human traffickers by skewering them. Lastly, both of them have had their worlds shattered by a Titan attack and vowed to kill those responsible. This is the perfect segue to talk about why they are fundamentally different. The core difference, the most important difference, is that prior to Eren's attack, Gabi was not some innocent child waiting for something to happen in her humdrum life, like Eren was. She was actively seeking to murder everyone on Paradis. Which is why nothing that Eren did in episodes 5 through 7 influenced Gabi to come for them. She was already on her way. People are having these profound aha moments about how Eren's actions are keeping the cycle of violence and revenge going. And that is, simply put, a revision of the story. Eren could have stayed back and rebuilt Shiganshina, laid up with Mikasa by a crackling fire, and Gabi, all naped up in her armored titan, was going to come murder him and everyone he knew regardless. Hell, the cycle had ended. King Fritz, for better or for worse, ended it at the end of the Great Titan War. Bertholdt literally kicked it off all over again. This assault on Marley is not the beginning of something, rather it's a continuation of what Marley started 9 years prior in episode 1. Another tricksy scene is the moment when Gabi looks down at the ruined body of Udo and despairs that she doesn't understand why the attack on Liberio is happening. On the one hand, the compartmentalizing she's doing is understandable. Just because you crave war and train for it doesn't mean you're going to be sanguine about your friends and classmates dying moments into the first battle, especially if you're still just a kid. But it also feels a tiny bit like cheating to make such an overt comparison to Eren's sincere confusion and ignorance about what was happening to him in the opening moments of the series. Eren really didn't know, y'all. Gabi was training all her life to do to Paradis what Eren and company were doing to Liberio. They're reacting the same, but they're not coming from the same place at all. The truth is, Gabi is already a warrior who has fought and killed in battle. Gabi was prepared to invade Paradis. Gabi wanted it to be on Marley's terms. She wanted to go and overpower the pre-industrial peasants on a far-off land and bring back glory for herself and prove that Marley's pet Eldians were the good Eldians, as she put it. She simply wasn't ready for the smoke. She's mad that the devils of Paradis would dare fight back and do it so effectively. She wanted her and her comrades to bully them into annihilation. Marley wanted war. Eren provided it to them. It's not his fault that they didn't get it the way that they wanted it. Well, Magus and the late Willie Tybur got it the way they wanted it, I guess. The second reason Gabi and Eren aren't the same is because Gabi's warmongering is in service to Marley, which means that the ultimate goal is to further subjugate her own people. Now, to be fair, she honestly thinks destroying Paradis will somehow help Eldians in the rest of the world, despite all evidence to the contrary. So this is a difference in circumstance instead of intent. The moves that Eren has made throughout the entire series were always in the service of granting more freedom or peace or knowledge to his people, whether he was tussling with the Titans who breached the walls, helping to expose a corrupt government, or launching a preemptive attack on a military force capable of wiping out Paradis in days. He was even willing to lay down his life without a fight when Rob Reese convinced him for a hot minute that it would end the Titan scourge. This brings us to the third reason why Gabi and Eren aren't the same, which is related to the second but distinct enough to be its own thing. Eren has a true north within himself. There is something inside him that drives him to do what is right under his definition of the word. We see this in the first episode when he's cussing out Hannes for not being alert at the wall, or when he fights bullies even though he gets his ass beat, or when he's an orphaned refugee looking at the world around him with nothing but contempt. You can't brainwash this boy away from his core self. Gabi is the exact opposite of that in every way. The Marleyans taught her a deep and abiding murderous self-hate, and she gobbled it up. Lest one think that the Marleyan propaganda machine is infallible, just take a look at Udo and Falco. They weren't 100% taken in by it. They just played the game the best they could after being dealt such a crappy hand. Finally, the fourth reason. I'm switching things up a bit. While Gabi and Eren both seem to be hard workers who commit themselves to a given task with single-minded conviction, their natural talents are vastly different. Gabi is clearly gifted along with her bravery and tenacity, which makes her a much more formidable opponent than 14-year-old Eren was. Eren had all the heart in the world, but limited ability. As a 19-year-old who has been using his Titan for years, he's clearly leveled up his skills. But if Gabi were aged up and they both received a Titan at the same time, no doubt her growth with said Titan would outpace Eren's handily. For real, Gabi and Eren have more in common with different aspects of Reina. Gabi's pro-Marley attitude matches Reina's shifter candidate attitude, and Eren is so like Reina they even paralleled in the third episode of the season. Both started as scrubs with a lot of heart and a lot of hard breaks. As I was editing this, I saw another thing that sets them apart. This is a small personality thing as opposed to motivations and circumstances. Gabi is very confident in her abilities and often puts down her fellow warrior candidates. She's always looking for an edge to prove herself worthy to Magath and the Marley army. Eren, on the other hand, is frustrated by his limitations because he's so aggressively average in ability. But when rubber meets the road, he pumps up his fellow comrades and reminds them of their strengths and their duty to success. Even John, and he can't stand John. For Eren, it's not about being number one, it's about getting the job done by any means necessary. So there you have it, the reasons why Eren and Gabi are not as similar as they look on the surface. Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like and consider subscribing for more controversial Attack on Titan opinions.